Yeah.
Ready to go.
Fired up.
Yes.
Fired up.
Now, at this
You're fired
time,
up and ready to go.
all right. At this time, I'm going to ask you all to put yourself on mute. Thank you all again for being here. We're going to get our program started. So thanks again. Kenny?
50 years ago was a time of great social change. Postal workers were right in the middle of it. In March 1970, 210,000 postal workers stood tall, stood in solidarity, defied the law, and withheld their labor, and won better pay and benefits, job security, and true collective bargaining for generations to come.
I started working at the post office in 1958.
In 1963, the salary was $1 and change an hour.
You could be standing in line at the clock and they walk up and tell you you're not punching in, go home. If there wasn't enough work, they make you punch out and go sit in the swing room.
I said, I'm making $1.78 an hour. And they had us work 89 days in a row, 11 and a half hours every day and no days off for 89 days.
You can't live in New York City on what they're giving us.
I've been told I'm eligible for welfare, but I don't want to take welfare.
We had been begging for salary increases off of the Congress.
Congress was always in charge of our pay. They gave themselves a big raise and gave us nothing.
Well, that's when the stuff hit the fan.
They called the news media in and they asked the question, are you ready to strike the post office? We gave a resounding yes. Hell yes, we're ready to strike the post office.
For the first time ever, letter carriers went on strike, and mail service in and out of New York was suspended.
We want to work, but this is the only means we have of letting Congress know that we cannot take it any longer. Either they give us what we should have, or we will stay out on strike until hell freezes over.
And it was just built up anger and tension and the support of our brothers and sisters in New York that caused those in Cleveland and Chicago, Detroit, Los Angeles, San Francisco to walk out.
Since Wednesday, when 6,500 New York City letter carriers refused to shoulder their mail pouches, the strike has spread from coast to coast. Now it directly affects 14 states and has involved about 200,000 postal workers.
It was a hardship because you wasn't getting paid. You didn't know how long it was that you were not going to get paid.
My kids were 10, 12, and 14, so I sat down and told them exactly what would happen if there was a strike and if I got fired. They said, Mom, you can go ahead and do it.
At 9 o'clock, all of us got up, and instead of walking to the locker room for our break, we walked straight out the door. I don't know what happened after that in the aisle. We didn't come back. We just all walked straight out the front door.
I want to work for the next few days. Big cabin picket.
We set up a picket line in front of the Pittsburgh post office.
And the first letter carrier driver, he wasn't going to cross our picket line. So he got up, parked his truck in the middle of the street and jumped out and refused to cross the picket line. And then all these line of postal trucks behind him, the letter carriers jumped out.
Their strike is illegal, but there is not much the government can do about it.
We figured that we were going to jail, but we believed in what we were fighting for.
It's actually the largest strike ever against the U.S. government. It was unlawful. Think about the guts where workers defied not only their bosses, they defied the government they worked for, they defied the president of the United States that ordered them back to work, and they stood strong when the troops came in to try to move the men.
Now, I know it's against the law. That's in the Constitution. It's in my contract. If they want to put me in jail, put me in jail. But they haven't got a jail big enough to put all of us in.
I have just now directed the activation of the men of the various military organizations to begin in New York City the restoration of essential mail services.
What exactly are you doing?
I don't really know.
Do you think you're doing it as fast as a postal worker?
No, I don't. No.
They did get a few supervisors to drive trucks of mail, and one of them didn't know how to close the door and lock it on the back of the truck. So the mail bag fell out on the freeway.
It is a domestic crisis with a potential economic impact, perhaps the greatest since the Depression.
In the financial district, there was no way to schedule a stockholders meeting because there was no way to notify the stockholders or mail out the proxy statement.
When the mail stopped coming, everything stops. So everybody was looking forward for we going back.
They actually brought corporate America and Wall Street to their knees. And that's what we mean by power.
Each day we thought about it was getting to us closer. Oh my God, we're working for the United States government, what they're going to do to us. So that's 7-10 days later. Hallelujah.
And then what we found out, it worked out. We shouted with joy.
Retention of civil service status, compressing the 21-year time to get the top step to 8 years, collective bargaining, and binding arbitration. Certainly you would not disagree that this is a wonderful package. Those of you normally scheduled to work at this time, return immediately to duty to serve the 200 million Americans who are entitled to this service.
Out of the strike, the post office was reorganized. The American Postal Workers Union was born out of the merger of 5 unions. And postal workers have continued to reap the benefits through struggle, through continuing struggle of collective bargaining over wages and benefits, a right that other federal employees do not have.
So when I got back to work, the mail was almost reaching the ceiling. You know, they would welcome us back because nobody else could do the job that we were doing. And they're still doing a good job today.
It was a matter of getting better working conditions, decent pay, the right to really bargain collectively, you know, to have a real union.
Between 1970, before the strike, and a year after the strike, I went from making $2 an hour to $5 an hour. 6 months later, $6 an hour. It gave us a decent life.
We had fought for something that we needed to fight for, not just for ourselves, but for really for our families.
And when you're in a union, it's about not only what's good for you, but what's good for all of us.
You was fighting for respect. You was fighting for your rights.
I am very proud of what they did because it showed American people that as post office employees, we were worth something too.
And as the struggle continues today, to save our jobs, to save our union, to save the public post office, and uplift the 99%, we continue to draw strength and inspiration from the historic postal strike of 50 years ago.
The end of that said it very clear. The struggle continues. That video depicted what happened 50 years ago when there was no collective bargaining between the parties. And the unions at that time said, we're tired of collective begging and took to the streets. There was a lot of support for postal workers then, as there is now, and as evidenced here this evening, where we find ourselves issuing a rally cry for a good contract. It has always been said that what goes around comes around. The AFL issued the postal clerks their first charter in 1906. And as we gather together this evening, the AFL some 115 years later, is still showing support for postal workers. So let's get this show on the road with our very first speaker. He is president of the 12.5 million member AFL-CIO and is an outspoken advocate for social and economic justice. He is the nation's clearest voice on the critical need to ensure that all workers have a good job and the power to determine their wages and working conditions. Let's give it up, family, for the AFL-CIO president, Richard L. Trumka.
Yeah.
So, good evening, everyone. And look, any trade unionist that just watched that film had to swell up with pride because it tells you what solidarity can do. And this union has exhibited some of the best solidarity ever. Secretary Treasurer Powell, I want to thank you for that kind introduction and for welcoming everyone. More importantly, I want to thank you and Brother Mark and Sister Debbie for your unwavering service and leadership. And I want to thank the 200,000 postal employees out there and retirees that APWU represents. Each and every member of APWU is a public servant. The U.S. Postal Service is a cornerstone of every community, from our largest cities to our smallest towns and rural communities. It's the most trusted institution in America. And we know why that is, because the heart and soul of the USPS are union members, each of you. You embody the qualities of respect and reliability, and you damn well deserve a contract that's rooted in dignity. Family sustaining wages, good benefits, strong protections. Look, that's not too much to ask for because you serve America and the post office must now serve you. Look, brothers and sisters, nothing can stop APWU members. Not the blistering heat or the freezing cold, and not even a global pandemic or man-made threats like the corporate interest trying to deliberately slow down the mail and privatize your jobs and slash your pension. See, these attacks are un-American, and we'll continue to fight back as one united labor movement. In November, you safeguarded and strengthened and ultimately saved our democracy. At the height of the pandemic, during the most important election of our lifetime, you carried millions of votes from mailboxes to ballot boxes. You delivered for America. You protected our democracy. As many of you know, I'm a student of history. So I want to remind everyone how long our postal service has been the envy of the world. French diplomat and political scientist, Alex de Tocqueville, came to the US to study American democracy in 1831. And he wrote that the Postal Service was a great link between minds and said it helped create a stable democracy. It's been nearly 200 years, but those words still ring true because you demonstrate selflessness. You embody relentlessness. You connect people and bring us together. You're the best of America. And America owes you the best contract. You see, the collective bargaining process you're starting tomorrow is fundamental to democracy in the workplace and on election day. The AFL-CIO's 12.5 million members and 56 affiliated unions are with you. We're with you today and tomorrow and for as long as it takes. We're going to beat back these attacks and we're going to win a fair contract. We're going to safeguard the Postal Service, strengthen our labor movement, and save our democracy. We're going to defend our communities, our country, and the working people who serve them, and we're going to do it with solidarity. 12.5 million strong, standing together, fighting together, and winning together. God bless you. We're with you. today, tomorrow, and for as long as it takes.
Yeah.
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 Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, President Trump, for your support and bringing with you the members of the AFL-CIO, the 12.5 million members. And when we fight together, we know we win. I am honored. I am Judy Beard, your legislative and political director, and I am honored to introduce two strong women that always have our back from Congress. I will be introducing them because they care about what we do. I'm pleased to welcome Congresswoman Alma Adams of North Carolina, 12th District, to help kick off our contract negotiations. She is a friend to all APWU, and one person in particular, President Mark Dennisstein, who also is from North Carolina. The two of them fought for justice side by side for years prior to her being elected to Congress. Congresswoman Adams has been a steadfast supporter of the public postal service. We have faced many challenges during this pandemic, but she has called for $25 billion for emergency appropriation funding. That's how strong and how much she believed in us. In an essay penned by a Congresswoman and published last year in the Harvard Law School Journal, she stated, I quote, "The Postal Service remains what it was always for this country, an essential provider of goods and service, a core component of our economy, a pathway for many good, stable jobs, and a point of pride for the American people." We are fortunate to have her speak at our last contract kickoff rally, and she's back again. Thank you so much. Let's give a warm welcome to the Honorable Congresswoman Alma Adams.
Thank you, Sister Bear. Thank you to my Sister Bear. Thank you. Good evening, APWU. I'm Alma Adams, and I'm privileged to represent North Carolina's 12th District in the United States House of Representatives. Thank you for allowing me to join you here today. And to your president, my good friend, Mark Dennisstein, thank you for inviting me to speak tonight. You know, Mark and I, as you heard, we've known each other almost 40 years, I think over that. I knew Mark when he had a full head of curly black hair, but he still looks good. So believe me when I tell you, you've got a top tier talent leading APWU, and I'm proud to stand with him and with all of you tonight. I also want to thank you, Brother Trumpka. Thank you for that, for that sermon you just gave. I wanted to say amen. Thank you for kicking us off on such a strong note. And a special shout out should go to the more than 2,400 USPS brothers and sisters who work in my district. You know, we all know the famous creed: neither snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor gloom of night stays these couriers from the swift completion of their appointed rounds. Well, after this past year and a half, it's time we add COVID-19 to the list. The U.S. Postal Service is one of our nation's longest serving and most treasured institutions, and I've been so pleased to stand with you over the years. And during this pandemic, one of the things that every American could count on was the United States Postal Service. You made sure that 800 million more packages than normal arrived on your doorstep. You made sure that our veterans and seniors received their prescriptions. You delivered 65 million ballots to the voting booth. In short, you had our back. And so it's time that we have yours. During the pandemic, Congress provided $10 billion in aid to the Postal Service to help it survive. Now the Congress is looking to enact legislation to make sure that it can thrive. The House Committee on Oversight and Reform, which is headed by my good friend and colleague, Carolyn Maloney of New York, reached a bipartisan agreement to advance substantive postal reform legislation. It appropriately named the Postal Service Reform Act, or HR 3076. And so I want to just stress that this bill is not only bipartisan, but bicameral. The Senate Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee has introduced a similar companion. And what it means for us is that there's a good chance that after a decade of fighting for reform, 2021 might just be the year it gets done. In addition to enacting good legislation, Congress is trying to make sure that you have good leadership at the highest levels of USPS. This February, I was proud to have led 79 of my colleagues in calling on President Biden to fill the vacancies on the Postal Service's Board of Governors. Our message was received loud and clear. President Biden nominated strong candidates to the board, and the Senate acted quickly to confirm these nominees. I also want to thank my friend and colleague, Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence, who's speaking later in the program. As a former postal worker, she's a strong voice for all USPS employees and workers. She's contributed significantly to our chances of passing substantive postal reform legislation. And together, we have helped make sure that the Postal Service leadership is responsive to the needs of the American people. So I want to make it clear, APWU, Congress has your back. And as you prepare to kick off your collective bargaining agreement negotiations tomorrow, I want you to know that the time is now for you to get what you deserve. I am chair of the Workforce Protections Committee, Subcommittee on Education and Labor, and I'm also a member of the CDC's Labor Task Force. And during my workforce protections hearings, I always like to say that working hard is not enough if you don't make enough. I've been singing that song for so many years, having served 20 years in the North Carolina House. But during the pandemic, you've all worked hard day in and day out to make sure that our country could keep functioning. So when the days were dark and the outlook grim, you helped us stay safe and slow the spread of COVID. So it's time that you all receive your rightful reward for the hard work that you did. So before I go, I want to leave you with a reminder that we live in a democracy. And at the end of the day, it's not the president that holds the power in our country. It's not the senators or the representatives in Congress. It's not the governors or the mayors. It's you. It's the people. So during this upcoming contract negotiation, I hope you make sure that everyone remembers that fact. Thank you so much for allowing me to be with you tonight. Good luck on all that you're going to do. Listen, you can count on me. I'm going to continue to have your back. God bless you all. Have a great, great evening.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Congresswoman. It's always a pleasure to be in your company as well. Thank you so very much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to be here with us this evening. And let me give another special shout out to President Rich Trumper, who once again, we are happy to have started off this program. Neither snow, and Congresswoman Adams just said this, neither snow nor rain, nor heat nor gloom of night stays these couriers from the swift completion of their appointed rounds. And during this past year, we can add pandemic to that slogan. Let's give a warm welcome to the president of the National Association of Letter Carriers, our brother, Frederick D. Rolando. Fred.
Thank you very much. Good evening, brothers and sisters. I want to first of all thank you for inviting me to this event, to your event. It's an honor to be with all of you tonight to help our sisters and brothers in the APWU kick off another round of postal collective bargaining. The men and women of the National Association of Letter Carriers, all 280,000 of us across the country, we stand in solidarity with our friends and fellow trade unionists in the American Postal Workers Union. The post office was created in 1775. It's older than our country itself. But this year, This year marks the 50th anniversary of the creation of the U.S. Postal Service. But equally important, 2021 represents the 50th anniversary of full collective bargaining rights for postal workers. A half century ago, a joint bargaining committee comprised of our unions negotiated the first labor contracts to be negotiable under these rights, which we won by standing together during the Great Postal Strike of 1970. That strike stands along with the Pullman railcar strike of 1894, the Flint sit-down strike of 1936, and the U.S. Steel strike of 1959 as among the most consequential strikes in history. The Postal Service strike in 1970 transformed the lives of hundreds of thousands of American families and paved the way for collective bargaining in the federal government. So tonight, as we rally behind the APWU's demands for a fair labor contract, let us celebrate the 50th anniversary of the end of collective begging and the arrival of collective bargaining. Although our unions no longer share the same labor contract as we did for nearly 25 years, we have continued to work closely with each other in the process of contract negotiations. APWU provided tremendous support and assistance in the negotiation of our latest national agreement with the Postal Service. It took us 15 long months to secure our 2019 to 2023 contract. Indeed, we reached that agreement after we reached an impasse and began interest arbitration proceedings. The contract before that took 17 months of hard work. In both cases, we prepared for interest arbitration even as we remained at the table in good faith efforts to reach an agreement. Through it all, we could count on our sister postal unions to provide help. We're especially grateful for APWU's assistance in preparing for binding arbitration during these long contract fights, which included help with testimony, expert witnesses, and data. NELC intends to continue to reciprocate as the APWU goes back to the bargaining table this summer. President Dimenstein, please do not hesitate to reach out to me and to your allies in the NELC as your bargaining progresses in the weeks to come. Our resources and staff are at your disposal. We stand in solidarity with you. And let me just end on a personal note. I want to thank you, Mark, for the partnership and the friendship we've built over the past several years. That partnership goes well beyond the negotiation of collective bargaining agreements. We've worked together during the pandemic to keep our members and our customers safe. We collaborated on work with the National Election Task Force to make sure the Postal Service delivered half the ballots cast in the last election securely and on time. In so doing, we upheld our nation's democracy, and we're working together right now to restore the quality of service that was damaged by the pandemic, as well as by a number of policy missteps at LaFont Plaza. Our unions stand together in solidarity, and our members and our country are better off for it. Thanks again for the chance to participate tonight. I wish you the best in this important new round of collective bargaining.
Thank you, President Rolando, for joining us tonight in our shared fight for justice, both at the bargaining table and in Congress with legislation.
Thank you, Judy.
I promised you 2 members of Congress that had our back. And the next speaker, she really needs no introduction, Representative Brenda Lawrence. She is a friend and has been in front of APWU members fighting for our rights for a very long time. Prior to serving as a representative for Michigan's 14th district, Congresswoman Lawrence worked for decades at the Postal Service in various roles. She is the only member of Congress with firsthand knowledge of the Postal Service. Through her experience, she knows and understands the importance of contract negotiations that we're kicking off tomorrow. In her position on the Oversight and Reform Committee, we have watched time and time again as she came out to defend us at hearings on the House floor. And she does so accurately, defending the membership of the American Postal Workers Union. She's fought against proposals that has a negative impact on our work and our country. Congresswoman Lawrence, we are grateful for your friendship, for your leadership, and we welcome you the second time to our contract rally. Thank you, the Honorable Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence.
Yeah. Hey, Brenda.
I want to say thank you so much to my very, very dear friend, Judy Beard. If you ever had any hesitation, I just want to verify she is one of the hardest working, most passionate workers for her constituency, APWU. I can count on her to give me a call, whether it's late at night or early in the morning, to stand up and fight and encourage me and push me forward to fight. I'm Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence, and I proudly represent Michigan's 14th Congressional District. And I come to you as family. I worked in the Postal Service for nearly 30 years. I sorted mail. For those of you old enough, I had to learn a scheme and had to pass the test to get the job. I know what it means to work tour 1, tour 2, and tour 3. I know standing on my feet for 8 hours a day at a case throwing flats or sorting mail. I know what it means to be a postal employee. I also carried mail. I know what it meant to be out there in the cold, running from dogs and sliding downstairs and enduring the heat and the cold that our motto, neither heat, rains, or snow. That is true. I know what it means when everybody is shutting down. They say, stay off the road. We show up. Now, during the pandemic, something happened. All of a sudden, people realized we were frontliners. We were essential workers, that this country doesn't work unless we show up. I want you to know that I know the suffering that went on internally, where so many of our colleagues contracted COVID and unfortunately some died. I know the fear that so many coworkers had because we had to fight. I had to make personal phone calls to the Postmaster General to ensure that they were following guidelines and giving you the protections that you need. Collective bargaining is so important. When unions succeed, when labor succeed, America succeeds. I know that the quality of life that I gained from working at the Postal Service, I bought a home, I sent my children to college. I know how important this labor union job that I had, card-carrying member of APWU, card-carrying member of NALC, I know for a fact that collective bargaining is so important. But I also want you to know that the fact that you are going to the negotiating with your negotiating team to go in to fight for a stronger contract, you don't have to feel uncomfortable with that. As you saw your history, there were those who worked before us who did not have a problem losing pay if it meant getting the benefits for their family and the benefits that they so deserve. So I want to say to all of the negotiating teams, especially President Mark Demonstein, the chief negotiator, Vance Zimmerman, my friend, Secretary Treasurer Liz Powell, and Michigan native and a guy that I know that does not play, that's Mike Foster. I love him. I want to give a shout out again to the APW Legislative Director, Judy Beard, who does her work every day with advocacy and efforts on the Hill. And I will continue to fight for our postal labor workers. So I want to tell you a little bit about how I can fight. When I first came to Congress, I went to Nancy Pelosi, that's the routine. And she said, what committee do you want to be on? I said, I want to be on government oversight. She said, really? I said, really? She said, why? I said, because then I can continue to take care of my family, the Postal Service. And I did my research. No other person in Congress had ever had a full career, 30 years like I did in the Postal. Some of them had worked in summer during college, but none had the experience that I had. And I want you to know, and Judy has witnessed it, sometimes it gets so ridiculous, the conversations, and I have to raise my hand and say, that is not true. That's not reality. But I want everyone who's on this negotiating team to know you're not just fighting for today. Look at that video we just saw. Those people were fighting for where we are today. This is about the future of the Postal Service. This is about the workers, and it's about the families. I used to do a thing when I worked in the Postal Service. When a postal truck drove by, I told my children, salute. That's our bread and butter. I said, you respect that truck because that's what's bringing home the bacon. I want you all to know, not only do I respect you, I have an obligation by the Constitution to ensure that you're viable, that you exist, that you have the resources that you do. So every day you can deliver the mail to every American citizen in this country. And I want you to know that the bills that we fought for to get postal reform, I sit on the subcommittee for government offices that I need to have oversight on, and I have oversight over the Postal Service. I also sit on appropriations. Guess what? I sit on labor, HHS. So also labor rights, like the PRO Act and those things, I can fund it and I can make sure that the money is going in the right places. I wish you all the best. I want to tell you, like we tell most of our family members during this COVID time when we see them, thank God you survived. Thank God you're here, and that we can see each other and continue to build and get better and be stronger as a family. Do the right thing, fight hard. We got your back. I got your back. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for allowing me this time.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
Right.
Yeah. When you hear from speakers like that, it makes you want to get up and do one of them Norma Ray things, stand on top of the stage. Really get fired up. Thank you, Congresswoman. Stay as long as you can here with us. We'd appreciate it. What? 2 women. Wow. Can't beat that. Paul Hagrogian has been an active member of the National Postal Mail Handlers Union since joining the Postal Service at the New Jersey BMC in 1976. As of May 2nd, 2015, the National Postal Mail Handlers Union's National Executive Board unanimously selected him to fill the office of National President. Please give a warm welcome to our brother, the President of the National Postal Mail Handlers Union, Paul Hagrogian.
Greetings to my brothers and sisters from the APWU. And Liz, thanks for that great introduction. But your bio information on me was a little incorrect. I actually started my postal career in 1971 as a PTF clerk in South Hackensack, New Jersey. And I then became a mail handler in 1975. As Liz says, I'm Paul Hagrogian, president of the National Postal Mail Handlers Union. On behalf of our 47,000 members, it is my honor and privilege to deliver this message of solidarity. I know our organizations have had some differences in the past, and we will continue to have some differences going forward. But right now, we have to put those differences aside. We have to focus what we have in common rather than focus on those issues on which we differ. We must focus on the bigger picture. Believe me, we have bigger enemies than each other. The Mail Handlers Union has been working with the APWU on a variety of issues. Together, we are fighting the ill-advised closings and consolidations of mail processing facilities. Together, we are fighting to protect our members during the COVID pandemic. Together, we are fighting to prevent the privatization of mail processing operations. For those of you who don't know, the Postal Service is currently in the process of subcontracting out the surface transfer centers. Together, we are fighting to maintain 6-day delivery and door-to-door delivery. We have fought together to preserve democracy during the most recent election. And along with the National Association of Letter Carriers and the National Rural Letter Carriers Association, we are fighting to enact meaningful postal reform legislation that is fair for postal workers, fair for the Postal Service, and fair for the American people. I have personally worked with President Mark Dimmenstein on these issues and pledged to continue working together on these issues going forward. The relationship between our organizations is stronger now than it has been in some time. We know what affects one of us will eventually affect all of us. The NPMHU pledges to do everything in its power to assist the APWU to achieve a fair and just agreement. And it's we have a personal interest in this. And I said it last time during your prior campaign, and people told me not to say it again, but we know whatever they ram down your throat this time, they're going to shove up our ass next year. So you got our full support. You are not alone. We have to make sure that we remain united and make it clear to all that we will not be divided. And again, I want to thank President Dimmenstein and Liz Powell and all the APWU for this kind invitation, and want to wish APWU a successful and productive bargaining process. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us this evening. The next person I'm about to introduce to you is a very special person, probably because we have the same name, Elizabeth Liz. That makes 3 of us because we have Liz Jr. on this call from New York, Liz Swiger, she's an Elizabeth Liz. Elizabeth Liz Schuler is the AFL-CIO Secretary-Treasurer, its second ranking officer, the first woman elected to the position, and the youngest woman ever on the Federation's Executive Council. She leads the AFL-CIO's initiatives on the future of work, the clean energy economy, workforce development, and empowering women and young workers. She's committed to busting myths about labor, leveraging the labor movement's diversity for innovative approaches to social justice, and making the benefits of a union voice on the job available to working families everywhere. My sister, my friend, your friend, Secretary Treasurer Elizabeth Liz Schuler. Welcome, Liz.
Woohoo! I'm fired up. Thank you, Liz. And it is so great to be here with you tonight. And I just want to say, Liz, my shero, and Judy, you are a dream team hosting tonight. And I want to thank you, President Mark Dimmenstein, for your fearless leadership, being at our AFL-CIO table. The APWU leadership team truly has been incredible. especially during this pandemic. And I just want to say thank you. And most importantly, thank you to the postal workers and retirees that APWU represents. As Liz said, I'm Liz Schuler, Secretary Treasurer of the AFL-CIO, America's Unions, and we are standing in solidarity with APWU because the U.S. Postal Service is a bedrock part of American life because of your hard work, right? And in the toughest times, total upheaval, a deadly virus spreading unchecked, American postal workers delivered 160 million addresses, I think it is, billions of pieces of mail. And that's, you know, vital medications, critical information, care packages, the connections and the lifelines for businesses to stay open and families to stay in touch. And all of this through the challenges and the isolation and the you know, heartbreaking crisis of COVID-19. We can't thank you enough on behalf of the labor movement. And, you know, you think about all the families who couldn't go in person to say, I love you or goodbye. We counted on American postal workers to make sure those messages got through. And American postal workers stepped up, sacrificed, and survived a sellout attempt. And when asked to carry our democracy, American postal workers delivered it. 65 million ballots. So for the ways that you serve and so much more, and how you put yourselves out there, especially during the pandemic, on the line, we honor you. We respect and acknowledge the work that you have done on the front lines. And the labor movement, of course, we know our work has always been essential, not just during the pandemic, right? And more than just a thank you, what do American postal workers deserve? A good contract, annual pay increases, stronger safety rights, a contract that protects hard-won benefits. You have it on your Zoom background. I love it. A better work environment, free from fear and hostility. And this fight is bigger than one contract negotiation. You know this. This is a fight for APWU members and APWU families and communities where APW families live. And this is a fight for all of us. And that's why I'm so thrilled to be here tonight with all of you, because we have the power when we stand together and we move as one. We are unbeatable, unstoppable. Whether it's the Warrior Met miners who are on strike in Alabama right now, to the Metropolitan Opera stagehands, workers all across the country are standing together and standing up for what we deserve. And those workers are here with us tonight for your fight too. And we are with you. 12.5 million working people in our movement, and all the working people that you keep connected across the country. We are with you every step of the way. Thank you.
Thank you, my sister. You know, technology is so great. Along with us clapping, along with the yelling. I don't know if y'all hear that hand clapping in the background, right? You can make anything happen these days. So the thing can clap by itself when they hear great speakers. I just love this technology. The other thing that I love is when you invite people and they all show up in the order that they're supposed to. It makes it so easy that I don't have to look all through these pages and find somebody and say, oh my God, I got to substitute this. But to all of you who have previously spoke, thank you so very much for accepting our invitation. Now, we have a brother on the phone. Brother Bill Lucy has called in to join us. Brother Bill Lucy is one of the founders of the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists. He's a member of the American Postal Workers Union, Cleveland Local. He's been a labor union activist most of his life, has been a mentor and helped us all grow up. We think we're grown, but he has helped us get to that grown feeling where we think we're grown place. Please join me in welcome Brother Bill Lucy, who's going to call in via phone. Hannah, can you put the next one, please?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Liz. Thank you so very much for inviting me to be a part of this ongoing struggle. Let me join my colleagues in thanking the women and men of the U.S. Postal Service for their year after year faithful and committed service to the people of the United States. As President Trump has said a while back, your courage and your patriotism helped save our democracy, and a valuable contribution that you made and continue to make. Since your beginning, you've carried out your constitutional responsibility year after year after year for almost 250 of them. In this year, 2021, your union, under the able leadership of President Mark Demonstein and my sweetheart, Liz Powell, and the rest of your fighting team, you are entering into the process for which your union was created, specifically the promotion and protection of the rights and entitlements of every man and woman that keeps the rest of the best postal system in the world operating. The average taxpayer would not know that you handle over 500 million pieces of mail every day, 5,000 pieces of mail every second, a job that is fitting for the men and women of the Postal Service. From the sorting floor to the neighborhood door, you make the system work. From the smallest district in Florida to the largest district in New York, you have fought to protect your workers and the public as you have fought to protect the service itself. You have and continue to fight as you have against COVID-19 and the pandemic, and just as hard you have fought against the corrupt efforts to privatize the Postal Service. You are fighting against corporate greed and to limit the power of special interests who would like to take your function into the private sector. As you enter this round of negotiations, you do so with the full support of brothers and sisters from every corner of this nation. Your struggle is our struggle. Once again, we tell them the Postal Service is not for sale. Neither are postal workers up for sale. Whoever comes to the table to bargain with you guys, they come with this knowledge. We are fighting for our union. We're fighting for a decent contract. We're fighting for our future. And we are union strong all day long. Mark, Liz, anything that we can do, we will absolutely be there to support any effort you call upon us to do. Congratulations to you and good luck in the effort. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Lucy. Thank you so very much for taking the time to be here with us this evening. Okay, our next speaker has served as the Executive Vice President of the AFL-CIO since September the 10th, 2013. Tafari Gabri is the first immigrant elected as an officer in the Federation's history. Prior to his election, he served as Executive Director of the Orange County Labor Federation. In October 2019, he administered the oath of office to the officers of the American Postal Workers Union. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Tafari Gabri.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Judy, and the rest of the team at APWU. Thank you so much for having me here and having me as part of you as we go along in this long struggle for justice in this country. I'm just here, just in short, just to say that I stand and we all stand in solidarity with all APWU brothers and sisters. And I'm here also to thank you for fighting not just for yourself, but to save the Postal Service itself. Sisters and brothers, this is a struggle to save our dear Postal Service. But also we should remember, this is also a struggle to save our democracy. Just imagine if we didn't have the Postal Service and it was left for private companies to handle the millions and hundreds of the millions and millions and millions of absentee ballots that our democracy depend on, that you got into voters' hands. That's what we're all joining together to protect, our beloved Postal Service. Brothers and sisters, it is not just only during contract negotiation times. The vision of your union, linking absentee voting and the Postal Service's ability in protecting our democracy and fighting for it has been really awe-inspiring. Brothers and sisters, let's not put our guards down now. There is state by state, there is an effort to turn the clock back on absentee voting, and we can't let that happen. So as you go into your negotiations, I just want you to know, APW members, you are not alone. You have the support of the mighty American workers coast to coast, and I'm one of them. And anything you need, Mark, Judy, and Liz, you know where to find me. I will do anything you ask me during this contract campaign, and good luck with your contract fight. Thank you.
Thank you, Tafari. Thank you so much. To all of our guests who are here, if you flip through the pages in the gallery view, what you will find before you, other than our guests, is the national offices of the American Postal Workers Union, who represent the great membership of ours. They are our resident officers, our regional coordinators, our executive board, our national business agents, and in addition to them, we have our rank and file committee, who constitutionally is part of being involved in our contract negotiations. So those names, some of you probably recognize. If not, you can become familiar with them. They're very active in their own individual communities. And we thank them for being here as well. But they're on the clock. They're always on the clock, 24/7. That's why we do what we do. But thank each and every one of you. And now, before I give you a little break, which I'm sure you probably need to stretch your legs, in the May-June 2021 issue of the American Postal Workers magazine, we reported on the Warrior Met coal miners' strike in Alabama, which began on April the 1st, following the United Mine Workers of America filing unfair labor practice charges with the NLRB. During negotiations both before and during the strike, Warrior Met refused to offer good wages and benefits, instead demanding drastic concessions from the workers. Sound familiar? The miners vowed to stay on the picket line as long as it takes to win a good contract. The members of the United Mine Workers stood by us during our Stop Staples fight, and recently during our U.S. Mail Not for Sale and Save the Post Office campaign. The American Postal Workers Union stands with and supports them during their struggle against corporate greed. Please join me in welcoming my friend, your friend, and a friend of all workers from my home state of West by God, Virginia, the president of the United Mine Workers, Brother Cecil Roberts.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can't hear you, Cecil.
Got to get off of mute.
I think he's off, Liz. Something's wrong.
He's warming up. He's warming up. Right.
Is your mic off, Cecil?
Yeah, you might have to go out and come back in. While we're waiting for Cecil to get that going up, because I know he got some great magic words to say to us, let me invite our chief spokesperson, our young man who's working hard to make sure that our negotiations go the way negotiations are supposed to go. Let me bring forth a couple of words here. The Director of Industrial Relations, Vance Zimmerman. Vance.
Good evening, brothers and sisters and family. It's awesome to be here. I'm fired up about starting negotiations tomorrow. I'm fired up to be your chief spokesman. I'm so honored the fact that you've delivered for America. As these speakers have said, we saved democracy. We stood up, democracy was gonna fail, it wasn't gonna happen. We got together, we put the local officers pushing the issue, we got that mail out. And for us, that's an awesome thing. We've been around for 200 plus years in the Constitution, but this is the year that we saved democracy. We saved the members of this country got to vote and let their vote be heard. So don't ever underestimate, even though it gets frustrated on the workroom floor for some of the things that go on. You saved democracy. It's the biggest thing ever, as every speaker has said. I'm so proud to be part of the APW family and representing you as chief spokesperson. I'm very proud as the core committee met for hours today, which is President Demenstein, Secretary Liz Powell, Vice President Debbie Zurek, all the craft directors, Lamont Burke, Clerk Craft Director, Mike Foster, MBS Director, Idawa Balagan, Maintenance Director, Steve Brooks, Support Service Director. We're strategizing, we're working day and night to fight for the integrity that you deserve. A recognition of what you've done for the last year or 14 months. I've never been prouder. I've been a APW member and officer for 34 years. And this is the proudest year I have because in diversity and problems on the workroom floor where we had to deliver for this country, we did. You did a wonderful job delivering. I'm so proud of that. We're going to demand that we be respected. We're going to demand that we don't have any givebacks. We're going to demand that we management look and recognize what the country said about us. You guys are awesome. As Richard Trumka said, and a few other people said, we moved the labor movement. Do you know that you, and now I say you, every member, because you're part of this campaign as we work together, are part of the largest contract negotiated in 2021. It's the American Postal Worker Union. So as you look at your stickers, as you push and get on here and they know, you're part of that, the largest negotiations. And I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud to hear our brothers that talk from the other postal unions that they're there for us. And we'll use that help and we'll work to further the union movement. It's very inspiring to do that. It's great to know. I just want to give a shout out to Brother Lucy that spoke for a minute or two. Brother Lucy was on the picket line with the sanitation workers in Memphis with Martin Luther King. That far back, he stood, and as a unionist, we have people for the last 50 years, it's been union strong, standing here, standing with us. It's awesome the support we're seeing tonight. Just think of that, 12.5 million workers, there's representing saying, APW, we're there for you. So be proud to be an APW member. Be proud of these negotiations. Let your family know, I'm proud to be part of this union. It's gonna stand strong. I can tell you, we're gonna fight like hell to give you a contract that represents what you deserve. Make sure we protect the full court, all those things.
I think his volume is turned up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Van. All right, we're trying to make contact with Brother Roberts here. We're getting back on, but we're running a couple of minutes early. Executive Vice Debbie Soretti. Very briefly, Deb, please.
Just want to say, I'm so excited for all of you who are on this call tonight. And I hope you get excited tomorrow when you watch the live stream. You know, we've got a lot of work to do, and we're under attack. Just like it was brought out earlier about the consolidations, the closures. It's a battlefield, and we're in it. And it's not just our contract, it's so much more. It's our whole future. So I just want to say, all of you stand with us, because we need you by our side. We need your support. And it's only going to happen if we all stand together and everybody in this country sees how strong we really are. So I hope you'll be with us, and we're excited for tomorrow. And like Vance said, we're going to work our ass off for you guys. We're here for you. And of course, it's for all of us. It's for our community. It's for the country. So I just want to say, please hang in there, stand strong with us, be there with us on the last day of the contract. We're hoping and praying to get a great contract without having to go to arbitration, but we'll see. So just let's hope that everything goes good. Thanks.
Thank you, Deb. Chairperson of the Rank and File Committee, Peggy Whitney, you want to say good evening? Take yourself off of mute, Peg.
Well, good evening, brothers and sisters. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be the chairperson of the Rank and File Committee. The basic privilege of union membership is the right to voice and vote. And the privilege of membership to vote on the collective bargaining agreement that is prepared by our national leadership is the ultimate privilege of membership. And to serve in the great committee, I have a fantastic committee. We are here to evaluate and to determine that the hopefully
all right, Cecil,
proposed agreement that can be reached can be presented to the membership for ratification. We are here to analyze and ensure that every member is provided the contract of dignity, respect, workplace, wages, benefits, and as the president of the APW, Mark Dimmelstein, has said, to protect and enhance the benefits and wages we currently have. And so tomorrow, everyone should be out there showing the solidarity, wearing your sticker that you can get from your steward or your work location, and show that we are all one, standing strong for the APWU. Thank you.
All right. Next, we're going to find Mr. Dolan. He's got the paper. He's got the paper that's supposed to give us the contract. Mr. Dolan, where's the paper at?
Mr. Dolan, the paper's at. Where the paper's at? Where the paper's at? We want a contract. Where the paper's at? We need a contract. Where the paper's at? We want a contract. Yeah, where the paper's at? Yeah, we need a contract. Yo, Vinny,
Hi.
they look at me like little man with the doom. Why would you go and take a stand for the union? So I replied, I got plans for improvement. Understand it's not a stand but a movement. You can hear it in our vocals, still define the lies, and we still remain hopeful. One with a buck 80, but that ain't the final total. Their way to win was starving my fam out, all because we wanted our union to stand out. Had the nerve to put 22 on my man's out. Sat across the table and collectively ran out. Hope still votes off the votes reports, but we chose to stay together, still showing support. I draw inspiration from Huey, Malcolm, and Martin, wishing I could pass by the car. Where the paper's at? We want a contract. Where the paper's at? We need a contract. Where the paper's at? We won the contract. Yeah, where the papers at? Yeah, we need a contract. We made a decision, a unified vision. 22 got fired, management didn't listen. Labor convictions is hot in the kitchen. Union busters like mental encryption. There's a thin line between facts and fiction. Dolan conniptions with false depictions. We want a contract, that's the mission. Where the papers at, that's the Brooklyn vision. A year at the table, please stop bullshitting. We ain't quitting until the papers get written. The clock keeps ticking, the plot gets thickened. Marching on, walking like an Egyptian. Bargain fairly, we'll stop the friction. It takes hard work, people not a magician. We're making it happen, there's no time for wishing. Union prides in my family tradition. Where the papers at? Yeah. We want a contract. Where the papers at? Yeah. We need a contract. Where the papers at? We want a contract. Where the papers at? Yeah, we need a contract.
Outdated wages, dealing with inflation, paycheck to paycheck, struggle just to make it. Why these owners like the Dolans controlling, know nothing but owning, added to their holdings. Steady swimming in obnoxious opulence, only care about the green dollar, the profit. They will have you on the clock through the whole day. If they could work you all week for low pay. And they don't want us having unions. They get away with less of the griminess they doing. But still we shouldn't need a song to say how a happy worker goes a long way. Big day, unite, educate, learn to fight. You gotta organize, you want the workers' rights. Gotta let them feel your structure and presence. Sometimes you gotta stand up.
Where the papers at? Yeah, we want a contract. Where the papers at? Yeah, we need a contract. Where the papers at? We want a contract. Where the papers at? Yeah, we need a contract.
Check it. 22 fired, 22 hired, 22 had an opinion ignored by the employer. Doing right will set you free, but you can't be trusted. You're trapped by your greed. We want fairness, job security, a year negotiation. You tried to harass me, handed out race to the tight footprint, but left out broke the same. We don't deserve it. Your tactics are black. We won't back down. We want a contract. No lie, we'll live forever. We technically sound fighting for our brothers. 22 born became 22 strong. 22 more make management fall. 22 are back, 44 wars, more strength to our core. I bleed solidarity.
Where the papers at? Yeah. We want a contract.
We want a contract.
Where the papers at? Yeah. We need a contract.
We need a contract.
Where the papers at? We want a contract.
We want a contract.
Where the papers at? Yeah, we need a contract. Where the papers at? Yeah, we want a contract. Where the papers at? Yeah, we need a contract. Where the papers at? We want a contract. Where the papers at? Yeah, we need a contract.
All right. Where's the papers at, Mr. Dolan? The next gentleman I'm going to bring to you was the president of the CWA at the time that video was made. They were Cablevision workers out of Brooklyn, New York, who were about to go on strike. But before I bring you that gentleman, I think I see Steve Roberts is either on the phone or he's somewhere.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Yes, go ahead.
Oh my gosh, this is wonderful. You know, I'm a redneck, so forgive me for not being technologically astute here. So is the voice clear right now?
Yes, you're doing good.
Okay. Well, let me just do a couple of things, if I might. First of all, thank you for the help in getting back in here. I want to say a couple of thank yous, but first, before I do that, just let me say this. Liz is my sister. Mark is my brother. All of the Postal Workers Union members are my brothers and my sisters. You have been wonderful to our union in our 10-year fight for pensions and health care. You were there every step of the way with us, rallying with us across the country. And at the end of that 10 years, in December of 2019, just before the pandemic, legislation was passed in the United States Congress to protect the pensions of over 80,000 retired coal miners and over 100,000 retired coal miners' health care. And you helped do that. You showed us what solidarity is all about, and God bless every single one of you. And in our fight with respect to Warrior Met, I wore these clothes for a reason tonight. These are the clothes that I wore when I was arrested about 3 weeks ago and taken to the Tuscaloosa jail and spent a night there. I would not recommend that for anybody who wants to go on vacation. So that's the things that we've had to do. And the message from our brothers and sisters in Alabama is thank you again for your solidarity and supporting our strike financially. You have been wonderful to us, and we stand in solidarity with you, prepared to do anything that we can do to help lift you up and help you get a contract. I'm amazed at this technology, and I'd just like to make a comparison, if I might. In 1912 and 1913, most of you are aware, if you know labor history, that Mother Jones was an employee, so to speak, for the United Mine Workers. She was being paid to go around the country and help organize and run strikes and just generally raise hell somewhere for the benefit of workers. Workers on Paint Creek and Cabin Creek, where I'm from, went on strike in 1912, and immediately the co-operators kicked everybody out of their company-owned houses, cut off their ability to shop at the company store, which in those days was the only place people could buy goods. And my great-grandmother Blizzard gave people a place to put their tents. So the strikers are now living in tents on Paint Creek and Cabin Creek. So Mother Jones came and did something like we're doing here, trying to encourage people in negotiations and encourage people, motivate people, and in that case on strike. She went up and down Paint Creek and Cabin Creek, wading in the creek because they wouldn't let her walk on the road. And she called for a rally. Now, if you think technology is amazing right now, in those days, she didn't even have a loudspeaker, but 6,000 people came to listen to Mother Jones speak. And my theory is 5,500 of them didn't hear her, but this is what she said. And I'm not advocating this tonight, but I'm just saying that this has been a long-standing practice throughout the years in our movement. She said, go up Paint Creek and Cabin Creek and arm yourselves and kill every one of them son of a bitches and burn all their tipples down and you'll win this strike. And by the way, that's exactly what they did. We went from a strike to a mime war after Mother Jones's speech. Then after that, we had Ludlow in 1914, and we had the Ludlow massacre where 13 women and children were burned alive. And Mother Jones gathered everybody, thousands of people up after that terrible event at Ludlow. And this is what she said. She said, sure you lost. But in any confrontation between bayonets and the Constitution of the United States of America, the bayonets will win every time. However, you must fight and win, and you must fight and lose, but above all, you must fight. And I want you to think about from those two conflicts, back in 1912, 13, and then 1914, 21 years later, the United Mine Workers of America was the largest union in this country, over 800,000 people. And we did not sit on the fact that we were doing well. We decided that every single person in this country deserved a union. So from there, we went out and formed a CIO, and John L. Lewis and Phil Murray and others, and millions of workers joined the labor movement in the CIO. And we decided that people of color and everybody should have an opportunity to be in leadership position in the CIO. And from those days, we built the middle class. And today, the fight continues. And I will leave you with this. What Mother Jones said in Trinidad, Colorado in 1914 is true today. You must fight and win. You must fight and lose. But above all, brothers and sisters, you must fight. That's what the labor movement's all about. We stand in your side. We fight with you. We march with you. We rally with you. If you need somebody to go to jail, I'm with you. Thank you, brothers and sisters.
Love it. Yes. Thank you, Cecil.
Thank
It's always
you.
a pleasure. Thank you so much. And I'm glad
Love
you
you.
found your way back in here to us.
It was a long journey.
Yes, indeedy. Yes, indeedy. All righty. As I was saying earlier, Mr. Dolan, where the paper's at, this gentleman was the president of the CWA at the time that that song was done, that video was done, and has allowed us to use it at each one of our contract things. And I give you our brother, none other than that great Larry Cohen.
Larry!
Hey, thanks, Liz, and great to be with all of you, leaders of APWU across the country, Brother Mark and Liz and Judy, and everyone else who's involved in the bargaining table tomorrow. But I think two things. I want to play off that video for a minute. That's very emotional to me to see that video again after 6 or 7 years. Those were fired workers. They stood up to a rich bastard billionaire, Jim Dolan. Jim Dolan owned Cablevision. His family inherited from his father. He owns Radio City, owns sports teams, and his billions to him means more power and that he controlled everything. And those fired workers never quit. And first 22 of the 24 got back, and then we had a fight in that first contract to get the rest back. Now, that's not going to happen in postal worker bargaining. Postal worker bargaining tomorrow, for me and for so many others, is a new beginning. And I'm not a postal worker. But after my 10 years as president of the union and 40 years in the union, I've said to our members, to our shop stewards, I'm not running again, I'm going back to the streets. And without making this about me, I chair an organization called Our Revolution. Hundreds of groups across the country that came out of the Bernie campaigns. But at this point, it's not about Bernie. It's about postal workers. It's about working class people, black, brown, and white. It's about how we unite and fight, as Cecil just said. And just as the Our Revolution groups, many of them across the country, were there with you in the demonstrations against Donald Trump's privatization bullshit, they'll be with you now. We're not on defense now in this country. We're on offense. And your bargaining leads that offense. Your bargaining says we're aiming higher. We're not just holding on to the side of a cliff. We're going to defend our hundreds of thousands of good paying jobs, but we're also, as the Postal Workers Union has led, we're bargaining for the public good. We're bargaining to expand postal services. We're bargaining so that unbanked workers who have no bank accounts can go to the post office and cash a check instead of paying 2 or 3 or more % of that hard-earned check just to get it cashed. We're on offense. And it's not just hundreds of thousands of Our Revolution activists that are with you. Every progressive group in this country, every union member knows that the post office is in every community like no one else. And so when you take on a fight for justice, it's everywhere. And I say to Mark and Liz, and you have led amazing mobilizations. The Staples campaign, nobody thought that could be won. You won it. Fighting Trump on privatization, nobody thought that could be won, and you won it. And in the same way, while Vance and the others will be at this bargaining table day after day after day after day, remember that you'll be back at work at every community in this country, and that members of progressive groups and other unions are ready with a day's notice, almost as fast as Mother Jones organized 110 years ago. At a day's notice, if you have a demonstration outside a post office for justice, for jobs, for services, we'll be there. If you have to fight to hold on to your benefits, we'll be there. If you have to fight for a decent raise that so many of us are long overdue for, we'll be there. we'll be there with you every day. And we'll be there with you one day longer and each day stronger. Solidarity forever. My honor to be with you tonight.
Always good to get fired up and ready to go, especially when you have that kind of support behind you. Gives me great pleasure to bring to you my sister, who is taking time out for, I think, a couple of other Zooms to be here with us this evening. She's the, Executive Vice President Emeritus of the AFL-CIO, and that's Sister Arlene Hope Baker. Welcome, Arlene.
Thank you, Liz. Hello to everybody. Listen, I am so excited being here this evening. Liz, you know, you're my sister Lita, my friend. Mark, as I always say to you, you are my brother in the struggle. And he seriously is. You know, Larry, you set it up so perfect, Larry Cohen, when you talked about the community. And yes, I am the retired executive vice president of the AFL-CIO. Yes, all of that. But you know what I spend every day doing now? That is being engaged in helping to mobilize our community. I'm the chair of the Community Change, a 52-year-old nonprofit dedicated to building the capacity of low-income people, especially low-income people of color. I am here to lend my voice, my support, and the support of Community Change to APWU as you head to the bargaining table in this period of a new normal that none of us understand. Your path to power leads to the bargaining table. We will be on that path with you because we know clearly that a union contract is the only guarantee that a worker has to power and voice. You know, since your last contract negotiations, APWU members and all of our communities have been a witness to unprecedented times. We have mourned the death of over 618,000 fellow citizens who lost their lives to COVID, among them union postal workers. We have seen our communities gripped by economic uncertainty, and we have witnessed and we have seen something beautiful. Black Lives Matter launched a united postal service campaign that says, write Black love letters, recognizing the significant historical role the post office plays in the employment life of Black communities and, yes, women. You can count on us to show our respect and support for the Postal Workers Union as you begin your bargaining. The contract gains you make will not just impact you, but as you said, Larry, all of us. We are your union sisters and brothers and your community. Your contract will impact our relationship with how we deal with the postal services and our community's future with the United Postal Services. If your demands are not heard, respected, and met, we are going to have a problem. We want postal workers to have a safe workplace because, simply put, if you aren't safe, we as the patrons of the post office aren't safe, and the community isn't safe. You prove your worth every single day. So we stand with you in your negotiations for wages that reflect that worth. We will stand with you in your negotiations to reduce facility closures because we know any reduction will impact our mail and package deliveries and the postal workers that we all depend on to deliver our checks, our letters, our love letters, our letters from family, especially during this period. And God knows those ballots. You gotta keep delivering those ballots because, as it has been said, and as we know, our democracy is under attack. Community Change will stand with you in supporting the new bipartisan legislation to get rid of the unfair pre-funding mandate. We will encourage our community change partners to write letters to our representatives. We will lend our voice and we will demonstrate our support in strategic ways. Just give us a call. You have the support of community change and you can take that to the post office management. Now, I want you to hear this very clearly. We have joy on our minds, and we will joyfully declare to post office management, your voice is also our voice. Your contract demands will be our demands because our futures are linked. Mark, Liz, Judy, you know that I certainly and community change, we are only a phone call, a text, or a Zoom away. We will be wherever you need us. Just call on us, brothers and sisters. We will be there. Union and community solidarity will win the day at the bargaining table. Power and solidarity.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Arlene. Thank you so very much for taking time to be here with us. All righty, now we're winding down, I think. The union known as RWDSU struggles to represent the nearly 6,000 warehouse workers in Amazon's Bessemer, Alabama fulfillment center. And no matter what the vote count shows, it's already been a huge victory. People understand it better now. As a result of that campaign, the extent Amazon and other employers go to bust unions. The union highlighted the need for labor law reform. They renewed the coalition between the civil rights movement and the labor movement. They excited young people all over the country about unions once again. And most of all, this campaign, regardless of the outcome, has breathed new life into the American labor movement. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Stuart Applebaum, President of the Retail, Wholesale, and Department Store Union, which represents more than 60,000 workers in retail, food, and warehouse jobs nationwide. Take it away, Stuart.
Great. Thank you, Liz. And thank you, Mark and Judy. And thank you, everybody. It's a real privilege for me to be able to be with you. There is a special place in my heart for your union because I am a child of the APWU. My father was a postal clerk in Hartford, Connecticut for almost 40 years and a member of Local 147 for all that time. As I was growing up, I read every issue of the union newspaper from cover to cover. The contracts your union negotiated, his union negotiated, put food on my family's table. I got the eyeglasses I wore every year through the union's vision plan. And the scholarship I received from Local 147 helped make it possible for me to pay for my education. I could not be more grateful to all of you. You taught me the difference a strong union can make. What I learned about the importance and need for unions and strong contracts came from all of you and your predecessors. I was able to see firsthand the difference the great postal strike of 1970 made for my own family. And it was really good to see the video at the beginning of this rally. I remember clearly when my father was on strike and the difference, the negotiations you conducted because of the strike you waged made in our own lives. You shaped my thinking and set me on my direction for my entire life. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And now my union and I want to stand in solidarity with you, just as you did recently for my own union, the Retail, Wholesale, and Department Store Union, during our ongoing campaign against Amazon in Bessemer, Alabama, when I had a problem because Amazon was doing some really strange things with the post office. I reached out to Mark, and Mark was there. The overwhelming message from our fight in Alabama is that working people have to stand up for themselves through their union, no matter how powerful our opponents may be. Whether it's the most powerful company in the country and the wealthiest person since the beginning of time, or even if it is the United States Postal Service and the United States government. We have no choice, because we know that what we are fighting for is right, that working people be treated with dignity and justice and respect, and that especially means fair wages and benefits. And we are not going to get anything unless we stand up and demand it, and unless we stay united. Throughout the pandemic, you kept the mail running, you kept the Postal Service operating, so the rest of society could survive, often at your own personal risk. People may say thank you. That's nice, but it's not enough. You don't just need thank yous, you need and deserve a strong contract. All working people need strong contracts. And we understand as well what each of us does and achieves in our own negotiations affects all of us. And that's why all postal workers and all workers need to fight together to provide better lives and a fairer society for all of us. Your fight is our fight. We are going to be standing there with you, shoulder to shoulder, demanding that the Postal Service respects you and agrees to provide you what you deserve and puts it in your contract. Stand strong and stand united. And thank you for the life you made possible for me, and I am sure will make possible for generations to come. Thank you. Stay strong.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Stuart. Local number 147. I wonder if anybody knows who that is. I know, Tiffany, you should know what local that is. Greater Connecticut area local. President now is John Levy. John Durge's home local. Thanks, Stuart. All righty. President, was you finna say something? Next. Before I get to, Mark, are you trying to say something? Oh, okay. Did I mix up the locals? Could be Hartford. Maybe Hartford.
I think it's Hartford.
You think it's Hartford too. It's still Connecticut. I thought about that after I said it is Hartford, Connecticut. Yes. And I know that's what I could tell from that look you were giving me. It was Hartford.
Both great locals.
Yes. Yes. All righty. Before I go to my next brother here, I got to bring my sister here. She keeps me in line. She always has. Been a friend of mine for a long time. Whatever APW needs, She's always there when we call on her. And that's none other than the president of the A. Philip Randolph Institute, my sister, my friend, your friend, Sister Cleola Brown.
Oh, wow, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Liz, thank you. Now, I tell you what, brothers and sisters and siblings, tonight I'm gonna be short because that's what I was told to do. I wanna be succinct because I can't spell it, but I'm gonna be present because anytime APWU say come, I'm gonna be right there. I remember the last rally for the contract when we were at that hotel and y'all cut up so bad. I loved it. I haven't forgotten it. Sherry McKnight, you know I saw you. I watched you on this screen this time. I take a look across the screen. It's like coming home when I come to APWU because you all are amazing. And the strength and the energy that was in that room at that hotel. My God, you could feel it from the time you walked through the door. Nancy, I see you grinning, sister. You were present then, you're present now, and it's a good feeling when fighters don't give up. I took a look tonight, and I was looking for 3 of my sisters that I knew I was gonna see. Liz Powell is that strength and that rock that all of us sisters depend on when things get tough, hard, and a little bit crazy, because she'll look at you like, why are you getting upset? And calm you right down. And Judy, who's always to the right or the left of Liz, who's that reassuring message that comes right afterwards that says, we got this. Long as y'all stick with us, we got this. And my brother, Mark Diamondstein. I say Diamondstein because I think he's a diamond. I know that his name is Diamondstein, so don't think I don't know how to say his name. This man will show up and show out no matter where it is or what it is, to be supportive of another sister, brother, or sibling across this country every single time. You may not agree with him all the time, but you're gonna know what's on his mind. And that's the kind of fighter you need when you engage with the Postal Service that's acting so daggone ugly. I'm trying not to cuss tonight because my mama can hear me. She's right in the next room and I'm still scared of it, y'all. It is amazing to me that we find ourselves in this space going forward for the contract for workers who are so vitally important to the democracy of this country. When I took a look at some of the things early on, that fool who sits in that, well, okay, behave, Cleola, that thinks that he knows what to do with the Postal Service has been doing, you just want to do like my grandma used to say, just snatch a knot in that neck to make him understand that he does not know the caliber of the work and that he does not need to try and put on people who have been doing it for years some new direction. I can ask Doris Orr anytime, Doris Orr Richardson anytime, because that's my leader down in Jacksonville. Tell me what is he trying to say? See, so to try and figure out what this fool is saying, and I could not understand why he thought people would fall for the okie doke or would not check his game as he moved through. But it's leaders like Doris and others who made the rest of us on the ground in all of the local chapters, all of the locals of the APWU understand that it wasn't just an APWU fight, it was a fight for all of us. And we are all in from APRI from beginning to the end. Whatever you need from us, we will be there. I listened to Congresswoman Alma Adams tonight. I heard Brenda talking. It was all of the full support that came from people that you really respect. Stewart, my heart, my love, all of those that made it real clear about why unity is important. All of those words with the power and the strength that came from every single union that spoke tonight and the community activists that brought their support to the table. You have the strength, the power, the desire, and the courage to make this stuff happen. I am so proud to always be there when you call. And Mark, I know what kind of fighter you are, my brother. Just don't snatch a knot in nobody's neck, as y'all said at the table, because I ain't got no bail money to get your butt out, okay? But know that that fight that comes with sticking one day stronger, one day longer, will always be there. We will get you out no matter how long it takes if you go to jail and you've got the strength and the support that will be on the streets. But to all of you, Sherry's laughing at you, Mark, because I know that she's one of those that will be going to jail right behind you. And it is all of that kind of strength that we're counting on, because what you do in the communities where people like me live is make us feel reassured that the check is coming, that the medicine is going to be there on time, that the bills will come ahead of time for us to do what we have to do in order to stay solvent. And all of this business about delivery of mail every other day, our carriers are ignoring that. They're getting that mail to us because they know we need it. And on behalf of all the folks from the Black community where I live, because I love my people, I want to say thank you for the continued support and courage that you exhibit in fighting against this behemoth that is trying to take your rights. Your dignity does not stop at the door when you walk to your place of employment, and you are not going to stand alone because all of us are right there with you. God bless you, APWU, for all that you do. It is my honor to serve with you and to walk along with you. So thank you for inviting me tonight. It is such an honor. Take care, and we will be watching as you're negotiating, and we'll show up if the fight comes.
Thank you, my
Thank
sister.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, my sister. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All righty. You all remember the struggle that we had, vote by mail? Our fight was vote by mail because we know the mail is where it's at. We know the mail is what does it. You also know there were several lawsuits that were filed to allow us to be able to do what we needed to do. And one of those organizations was known as the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, whose president happens to be with us as well tonight, who Judge Sullivan sent the Postal Service back several times to make sure that no mail was left behind. As the result of President Demosthenes and all of our workers' struggle, and the task force and Judy Beard and everybody that got that mail out, over 60-something, what was it, Mark? 60-something million ballots came through the Postal Service, processed by our workers. Please join me in welcoming the President and CEO of the NAACP, none other than Derrick Johnson.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, President Demosthenes. Thank you, Judy, great Detroit native. First of all, to all of the postal workers that's on this Zoom, and those who you will be sitting to on tomorrow, I want to say thank you. Thank you because you saved democracy. You saved democracy because you ensured that people's vote was received on time and was counted. And oftentimes is the postal workers in this country that have saved lives, because despite what the prior administration was trying to do, you delivered vital medicine to individuals when the Postmaster General at the time that was appointed by the he who should not be named was trying to cut your ability to do your job. You still did it. And as a result, people like my mother and so many others received their medicine timely. Thank you, because with all of the people who the prior administration tried to put in front of you and to try to put roadblocks in your way, you continue to do the work. And so for that, I think this nation owes you a debt of gratitude across racial lines, across political parties, across all that we hold sacred. You did what was necessary to keep things intact. In fact, none of us would have ever imagined that the postal service, postal workers, the delivery of mail would have been so politicized, as if individuals who were simply doing their job every day will be seen by some in this country as pariahs or looked down on. But you continue to hold your head up and deliver the mail. When I go to the post office here in Jackson, Mississippi, I'm always running to someone who was a part of the last time I was with you all in Vegas or on one of the Zooms, or to say thank you. And I turn around and say, no, thank you. Because of you, we are able to keep things moving. For African Americans across the country, we understand the value of collective bargaining. I grew up in Detroit. I grew up in a household that was union. I grew up in a community that was union. I grew up in a community that migrated from the South to the North in search of a quality of life that all of us should be entitled to. And they found that in Detroit, because of organized labor, because of the ability to collectively bargain. And so as Mark and Judy and Liz and all of you pursue the next step to ensure that your voices are heard, that your work is treated with dignity, that you're provided the necessary safety net so that our children can be cared for. Our children, I mean your children, our children be cared for with the type of medical support that's necessary, so that you can protect the legacy of the pension fund and your retirement benefits, so that you can advance in ways in which society will require you to, because every year the cost of living goes up. And the quality and the cost of your labor should also be commensurate with the increase in cost of living. And that can only happen through collectively bargaining. Now, it frustrates me to no end. I live in the South, and I realize how people are still being exploited for cheap labor in this country in ways that's unimaginable, because it's only their voice. That we just represented a group of employees, because a particular company was trying to take away their right to vote, and we were able to represent them. Before we even got to the court, the company realized that they need to settle with those workers. But if only one of those workers would have brought a claim, that individual will still be going through the legal service, the legal system. But because it was a collection of workers that we represented, and I can't say what company because we did a non-disclosure, they were overly successful, many of whom got promoted because through collective action is how we prevail. We are living in the most unique time in this nation's history. A time where individuals can seize upon the US Capitol, cause injury and death to law enforcement officers, still scream Blue Lives Matter as if they was doing something patriotic. Facts have been turned on its head. That somehow individuals such as yourselves seeking to collectively bargain to ensure the quality of your workspace, the safety of your workspace, the quality and integrity of your job, and the value of your labor is not only protected, but grow with society, that's a bad thing. Trust me, it's the most beautiful, liberating thing we can do in this democracy, is to stand together, stick together, fight together, and prosper together. Continue the fight. We stand NAACP in support of you because you stood for us during this November election cycle and saved democracy. We stand in solidarity. Thank you.
Yeah.
Woo! Thank you, Derek. Thank you for always being there for us. As you always say, when we fight, we win. And as long as we fight together, we will always be winners. We appreciate it, and thank you for taking the time to be here with us this evening.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is the chief spokesperson for her union and the primary liaison with other unions and labor organizations, airlines, industry groups, and governmental agencies. She also testifies regularly before the United States Congress on issues of importance to flight attendants and serves as the international president of the Association of Flight Attendants, CWA-AFL-CIO, representing nearly 50,000 flight attendants at 20 airlines. And she's been a United Airlines flight attendant since 1996. Please join me in welcoming AFA's president, none other than our friend, Sarah Nelson.
Yeah. Liz, thank you. Thank you. And let me be really clear. I've been a union flight attendant since 1996. And there are 50, that's right. So there are 50,000 flight attendants in our union, some of them flying over us right now. I like to say raining down solidarity on this event right now and on your contract bargaining. You know, we have a special bond with postal workers because we carry the US mail on our flights. And our jobs, we can't do our jobs if you can't do your jobs. This pandemic exposed the real importance of the postal office more than ever before. And I'm not just talking about the fact that you came to work every day and kept the country going. You made sure that 4 million people were getting their prescription drugs every day. Many of them are veterans. That you made sure that we could actually vote in our democracy and have a say and take control in this country and make sure that it remains our country. But I'm talking about the fact that we had a shared experience during this pandemic that demonstrates that working people are the people that this country was made for. This is our country. We, the people of the United States of America, in order to form a more perfect union. A more perfect union, that's not, I love the word, of course, that's not what they mean by it, but what I like to take from that is that through our unions, we raise the issues that need to be fixed. We recognize that we are never perfect, that we have to continually strive to become perfect, that we have to continually call out what's wrong, that we have to continually struggle. You know, the corporate elite say there is no need of labor organizing. This is a quote from Mother Jones, and this is a shout out to my friend Cecil Roberts, who stole the quote that I was going to give from Mother Jones earlier, so I'm gonna give another one. But I'm just going to say the great thing about being on this call tonight is that there are people from all over the labor movement, people who are my heroes, people who have been my mentors, people who have pushed us forward. And I think about the mine workers on strike in Alabama, 2,000 feet under the ground when they're at work, and the flight attendants up in the air, 35,000 feet in the air, and all of us in between, all of us together form our total union. And that's what's represented on this call tonight. And when you go to the table, you're not just going to the table for postal workers, you're going to the table for the very ideals that we fight for in our democracy and that we built this country on. And so Mother Jones said, the corporate elite say there is no need of labor organizing, except that they themselves are continually organizing and show their real beliefs. The corporate elite want the most labor for the least amount of money, and the laborers want the most money for the least amount of labor. Workers build the world's palaces, but they neither use the wealth that we create or dwell in the palaces. If we would only realize that we hold the whole solution in the palm of our hands, for if every industry in the country were held up together, the world could simply not go on, and the corporate elite would have to cede to all of our demands. So that is our power on this call. That is the power that you are taking to the bargaining table. And I want you to know that we need to stand with you. We don't just stand with you out of solidarity. We need to stand with you because our own lives depend on your success. Our own lives depend on your ability to have a strong union and to call out what was wrong and to save the People's Post Office this year that made it the very possibility of our democracy to stay together and stay intact. That was the power of your union. That was the power of all of you standing together. And so now the corporate elite are complaining that there's a labor shortage and labor has all this power. And Sherrod Brown, our great Senator Sherrod Brown from Ohio said today, worker power is not the problem, it is the point. We are the purpose of this country. Hold that in your hearts and know that we stand with you, and know that when you go to this bargaining table, you are going for equality. You are going for standing up for the ideals that we fight for in our unions every single day, and that we come together because we have so much more in common than anything that could ever tear us apart. So with the power of that solidarity, flight attendants stand with you. This entire labor movement stands with you. Our movement for economic and social justice stands with you. And we together are going to succeed. And I just want to say one more thing. If you can all take yourselves off mute for a minute. We got to look each other in the eye next time we have the wonderful privilege of looking at each other in the eye. I'm vaccinated, by the way. And we got to say, I've got your back. So say it with me right now. I've got your back.
Got your back.
We're
Your back.
with
I
you.
got your back.
Solidarity forever.
Got your back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Got your back.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. It's, you all remember at our last, I think it was our last national convention, Sarah and her video crew met with our Young Members Committee and actually did an interview and used that for them. So we thank her. She supports the young workers. She supports young people. I call them all little people.
They're amazing. They're amazing. You can look at that video and see those great leaders out of APWU. Thank you so much for having them talk with us.
We thank you. Now, I got a few people have been waiting for a minute, and I got to get them kudos, but I love it when they hang in there with me because they know I wouldn't leave them, so they're not leaving me. So let me go to my sister, who's been there, always been there for us. She's one of the spokespersons for our 8 Grand Alliance. She went with us to the post office at La Enfant Plaza to deliver some petitions. She was with us in front of the 14th Street Post Office when we were telling Megan Brennan, our mail is not for sale. None other than the president of the National Coalition of Civic Participation and the convener and CEO of the Black Women's Roundtable, my sister, Melanie Campbell.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, well, it is an awesome, always an honor and a privilege. And I find it always a privilege to be here with you all. I know I'm not a member, but I feel like one. So I'm gonna act like one, right? So first, Liz, thank you for the leadership, and Mark and Debbie and Judy, and everyone for all you do every day, and all of the members of APW. All has been said, and I ditto all of it, right? And I hold it in my hands, and I hold it in my heart. And I thank you for all that has already been said. I'm down here, Mark, in my hometown of Mims, Florida, and it's going crazy down here in Florida. That's all I'll say about that. But it is good to just see this melting pot of power, of commitment and leadership all across the screen that has stood strong. You know I'm there for you. We're ready to fight. You know, I good to see a lot of our other leaders, and I have to stop and thank Bill Lucy, who helped me early on, helped start the coalition, and several of our other board members, Clay and Melvin and so many others. But I, like others, just want to thank you. I know what you did. We all know that you saved our democracy, and our democracy is still under threat. And so all I want to say is thank you. I'm here to be a part of this fight. I love what you're saying here, union strong all day long. And so that's what, and our people, I know as a Black woman in this country, I know that for so many Black women would not be in the middle class. So many Americans would not be in the middle class were it not for a union contract and a union job. I come from a mother who was in the union and the teachers union. I understand that. I come from her father who was a carpenters union. So my family knows what the union did. I know it would, I'm sitting in the living room, but I'm sitting in the home where I grew up in. And I know if it wasn't for the union, we wouldn't have the house that we still have right here, right? I'm standing right now. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Know that we're there in spirit. We're gonna be praying and ready to fight and get in the streets if they mess with y'all. So know I'm here. I love you. And let's go get that contract.
Yeah. Melanie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mel. You've always been there. We appreciate that. Reverend Melvin, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
President of the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists, Secretary Treasurer of the New York State AFL-CIO, a member of ASME, my brother, your brother, and another one who's always been there for us whenever we called on him to do whatever is needed done, especially during our vote by mail struggle, none other than Terry Melvin.
Good evening, APWU. Good evening, and how are you today? I want to say thank you to Liz Powell, Secretary Treasurer Liz Powell, who keeps us all straight each and every day when it comes to lifting up the issues of Black and brown workers throughout this country. I want to lift up your president, Mark Demonstein, for his leadership, and I say this everywhere I go. I love to see Mark at the National AFL-CIO meetings because he says what he believes, and he moves, and he does not back down. You may not agree with him, as Cleola said earlier, but you're going to know exactly where he stands, and I appreciate him being a stand-up leader in our movement at this space in time. I bring you greetings on this evening from the members of the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists, our international organization, and from my other position as the New York State AFL-CIO Secretary Treasurer. I want to also give a shout out before I get started to my brother Pete Karate, who just approved my pay. So I'm really appreciative to him. Keep up the good work, Pete, and on our national state board at the New York State AFL-CIO. Look, it's always a pleasure for me to be with my APWU family. It's always great to come out because we are all family. I'm looking forward to a time when we can be back in person again. Many of my sisters and brothers have already covered the important messages of tonight. But I want to let you know, that sisters and brothers, that I'm here today because we are one. Black, brown, white, yellow, and green, we are one. Gay, straight, trans, non-conforming, we are one. Christian, Jew, Muslim, Protestant, Catholic, and atheist, we are one. Public sector, private sector, service sector, healthcare, building trades, we are one. We are one movement, and this one movement stands by the founding documents of this country, which says we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men, and I say and women, are created equal, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I said this movement is going to make sure that we live up to those things that's in our founding document. This movement is going to make sure that APWU gets the contract that you deserve. Together we will fight, and together we will win. It is not time, sisters and brothers, for us to back up. It's not time for us to give up. There's so many out there that's trying to break us up, divide us up, but I want them to know today that we're standing all together as one movement with APWU. You will succeed because we have to succeed. We're going to make sure that you get the contract that you deserve because you fought the battle that you needed to fight. You put your lives on the line when many were staying at home during this pandemic. You put your lives on it, and many of you lost your lives because you did what needed to be done. We will fight, sisters and brothers, and we will win. The battle is not over. The battle is ours to fight. And I'm calling on all my brothers and sisters from around the country, whatever union card you have or whether you don't even have a union card, to stand together with APWU this day. And as we start negotiations, and we want to let the administration know we put you in there to do something, and you're going to deliver. You're going to deliver a just and a right contract for APWU, or just like we put you in there, we're going to kick your ass out of there. We're going to work with your APWU. We're together. We're going to fight together, and we're going to win together. God bless you. God bless America. God bless APWU, and God bless our great movement. God bless you. Thank you for allowing me to spend some time with you on this evening.
Right.
Brother Danny Glover has joined us. But Danny, before I get to you, I got two more things I have to do. And one of them is to bring to you a combat veteran and who proudly served with one of the most decorated unions of the Iraqi war. One of his proudest achievements was the honor of working alongside Illinois legislators to create a veteran suicide task force. That task force is now a model program for lawmakers nationwide. In May 2017, he was selected to lead the National Union Veterans Council at the AFL-CIO, and his main focus is building the program on a state and local level and supporting affiliate veterans programs. As a strong unionist, he is determined to focus on prompting veteran involvement through programs, outreach, and diversity for innovative approaches to social justice, and making the benefits of a union force on the job available to working families everywhere. Sisters and brothers, I bring you Will Atkins, the president of the Union's Veterans Council, AFL-CIO. Welcome to William. As you know, the American Postal Workers Union and United States Postal Service employs about 40-some thousand plus veterans, of which over half of them are members of the American Postal Workers Union. Welcome.
Yeah.
Hey, hold up real quick. I don't know who's in charge of the clapping and stuff, but I want to say, can I give a shout out to Secretary Treasurer Powell for this lineup of trade unionists tonight and elected officials?
Yeah.
My golly.
Yeah.
So, I know that some of you guys can go off mute on this thing, so I want to lead everybody in the chat real quick because I got to follow Terry Melvin. And I'll tell you what, that's going to be a hard thing to do. So what I want everybody to follow me. The struggle continues, but the time is now. The struggle continues, but the time is now. The struggle continues.
The time is now.
Sisters and brothers, the time is now to fight back. The time is now for every APWU member to fight for democracy once again, not this time for the entire country, but this time for each one of your members who are fighting for a fair contract. The simple thing that's just in this country. My name's Will Attic. I'm the executive director of the Union Veterans Council. We represent over 1 million working veterans across the country. We have affiliates from all kinds of trade union organizations, and one of our biggest and most important groups are our postal workers that hire more veterans and employ more disabled veterans than any other group of people in the country. And that deserves a big clap. Whoever's got that clapping hand, I want to hear a clap for how many veterans you guys support and you guys employ in this country. It's so important. When Secretary Treasurer Powell and Judy Beard and Mark Dinestein asked me to come on board to talk about this amazing fight that you're about to get in, I said, I'm here for it. And if you don't know who I am, I'm a combat veteran who, when I came home from Iraq, I struggled to get ahead. And I got a job through a union job, becoming a union pipe fitter. And that union card was something special in my pocket. It gave me a voice, and my voice was able to then help other veterans find opportunities in unions and find opportunities to find their American dream through their labor, but not through poverty wages and bad benefits, through the kind of wages and benefits that only a union contract can give them. And right now, tomorrow, you're going to get into the foxhole. There's only going to be a few people standing right next to you, fighting for you each and every single day. Now, where I come from, we like to talk about a few things called patriotism, the American dream. A lot of people talk about things like bootstraps. And the reality of the people who talk about those words don't always mean what they say. Somebody said one time that America's a shiny city on a hill, and everybody has the opportunity to gain entrance to that shiny city on the hill, as long as they're ready to work for it. But the reality, those were just words, hollow words. The reality, America is that shiny city on the hill, but each one of us has to make it work every single day. And those gates aren't open. We have to beat on those gates to get inside that city. We've got to pull each other up from our bootstrap, not individually. That's not what America's about. America's about working together. So when you reach down and you pull each other's bootstraps up, that's when you can accomplish big things, and that's what America's all about. Now, I said I'm here for a fight, and I mean it. Like Cecil Roberts said, there's mine workers down in Alabama fighting for a contract. I found myself at 5 a.m. in a jail in Tuscaloosa a couple of weeks ago, and some kid who just got brought in, he asked me, "Why are you in jail?" I said, "Well, I got on a plane this morning because there's some people deciding to fight for themselves. And I fight for my country all over this world. And I decided to come down here to Alabama to fight for my country and to fight for these workers willing to fight for themselves. And I'm here for you. And mark my words, Mark, if you need someone to be standing right next to you at any point in time in this, the Union Veterans Council is here. Our members are here for you. And we stand ready to get into this fight for democracy on the workplace and to support every single APWU member, and especially our veterans. I got to give one big shout out to Robert LaFoe from Chicago, who's probably the most patriotic Union veteran there is. And with that, continue to fight. I'm gonna shut up now because I know there's someone real important that's gonna talk after me, but I'm so proud to be here. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Will.
Yeah.
Thank you, Will. Thank you. Much appreciated. All right, sisters and brothers, before I get to Brother Glover, I got one more. Favorite friend of the American Postal Workers Union, a member of the 8 Grand Alliance, the former commissioner of the Texas Department of Agriculture, none other than our good buddy with that big cowboy hat, Brother Jim Hightower. All right, Jim, where did you go? Hannah, did we lose him?
I think we did.
Okay.
However, we do have a lease.
Okay. Kenny, let's do the Danny Glover video. And then we're gonna do Brother Glover.
I'm Danny Glover, and I believe the Postal Service is one of our most vital institutions. I'm the son of postal workers. My mom and dad worked for the Postal Service for most of their working lives. My sister was a postal clerk, my brother a letter carrier. I even worked at the post office during Christmas breaks as a teenager. Working for the Postal Service enabled my parents to buy their first home. They took great pride in their work, connecting customers, families, businesses, uniting our country. Now more than ever, we need the Postal Service to thrive and innovate for the future. The Postal Service belongs to all of us. It reaches everyone, everywhere, delivering medicine, packages, letters, newspapers, and catalogs without a dime of taxpayers' money. It never stops. But some people want to bury the Postal Service. Shut offices, reduce hours, limit delivery, outsource it, divide it, and privatize it. The post office is an anchor, a symbol of community. The Postal Service bridges racial, political, geographic, and economic divides. It is one of the nation's largest employers of veterans, women, and minorities, providing equal pay for equal work, good, decent union jobs. Let's salute the 625,000 postal workers. They stamped their mark of excellence on the Postal Service of yesterday, today, forever. Join me in a grand alliance to strengthen a cherished institution, our Postal Service, a public trust, a national treasure.
Sisters and brothers, guests and friends, APWU family, an activist that's always been there whenever we have called on him. No matter what we've asked, when we have asked it, he's been there. Yeah. He's on this call. He's on every call we've asked him to be on. He's done a video for us. My friend, your friend, none other than Brother Danny Glover. Give it up for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We love you.
Take yourself off of mute, Danny.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, gotta find out what's going on there.
The host has removed me from mute. I've never had the opportunity to be mute, especially when it comes to the Postal Service, the U.S. Postal Service, and also in support of UPWU workers. Every time I visit a post office, and I do visit, Danny Glover walks into the post office, stands in line and everything, it brings back a cascade of memories in my life. If my life has run through that. And every moment that those negotiations were going on with my parents, Carrie Glover and James Glover, worked at the post office, I sat there as if there was something more important, nothing more important, nothing more vital than the action that they would take as citizens. And that's what it brought into the citizens and the importance of citizens being the architects of their own rescue, to struggle, to continue to fight for justice, to make this country what it has been, but must be. That's what the Postal Service worker represented to me in everything. And my passion, you talk about that. I wanted to work at the post office at 16, 17 years old. Not go on to school and the other things that it may happen. I could have easily ended up alongside my brothers and sisters doing the same work that you're doing, and you've done so courageously. Every moment we had this, could we come to this moment of contract negotiation. So this kickoff rally, this moment in time right now, things have changed from last year, but has it really changed? We'll find out what whether we're able to get what we deserve, the contract we deserve. And I say we collectively, because we talk about America's force in bringing justice to the table. That's what we're doing. We're bringing justice to the table this Monday. We're taking this moment in our time, in our lifetime, to follow in the footsteps of those who have come before us, who've negotiated, who fight, who found themselves in the center of the civil rights movement and found themselves in the center of workers' rights movement. That is where we are. This is what this moment represents. And this is what moments that we have. It's our time at this moment. It's our time. It's labor's time at this moment. We have to do it now. We can't wait tomorrow. We have to do it now. So let's take this moment. Take measure of ourselves. The leadership, Liz Powell, and the leadership, Mark Demoside, and all the others who work in association with moving us forward, have done a courageous work over the period of time that they've been handled as the stewards. You are the stewards of those who come before you. You are the stewards of those who fought and stood up before you. You continue to be the steward. You become the model, the gold model for the labor union, organized labor in this country, the Postal Union. Continue that. And I know that through our work and continued work, we bring and make this country, bring this country closer to what it can be and must be. Continue. I'm with you. As I've been with you. I wish I was at the bargaining table physically, but I am there. I am there fighting on behalf of all those who come before you and all those to become after you, to make it stronger, to bring more justice, and make this country what it's capable of being, what we can make it. We the people as workers can make this be. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Danny. Before I bring to you the president of the American Postal Workers Union, Sister Elise Bryant, President of the Coalition of Labor Union Women, have joined us. Elise, give us some words of wisdom.
Hey. All right. Assistant Secretary Treasurer Liz Powell, Brother President Mark Demonstein, Vice President, Sister Vice President Debbie Ferretti, to my sister Judy Beard, to Joyce Robinson, to all the Clue sisters on here. I want to bring you greetings, sisters, brothers, siblings, comrades, family, Brother Glover. I got a song for you. I've sang at more APWU conferences and conventions than I've sang for my own union. I got to lead a chorus the year that Barack Obama was elected president.
Yes.
And we got to sing to him live at the APWU convention.
Yeah.
This is a song that we sang at that time. We are union. Yeah. We are union. Ah, I got the verse to go here. This is what we sang. All right. Contract bargaining time is here. Save our service. The message is clear. We have no doubt. We have no fear. APW is 50 this year. We are union. Postal workers. Ah, we are union. Postal workers. Ah, the Postal Service better watch out. Solidarity is what all about. So put on the heat out in the street. Union power can never be beat. Say, we are union. Postal workers. Hey, we are union. Postal workers. Hey, we are union. Last year was tough on many levels. And we lost family, we lost friends, we witnessed an insurrection on the steps of the US Capitol. Sometimes I just wasn't sure if we were going to make it as a country. But this I knew for sure. When my neighbors wanted to vote in the election and mail in their ballots, the members of the American Postal Workers Union were on the job. When I needed to mail my sister's 80th birthday present, the members of American Postal Workers Unions were on the job. When my friend wanted to have his mother's ashes sent back to Detroit to be buried, the members of the American Postal Workers Union were on the job. Essential doesn't begin to describe the members of APW. A, active. P, powerful. W, wonderful. And U, unique in the commitment to quality and service beyond the call of duty, and as such deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. The time is now. The place is here. Solidarity now, solidarity forever. They have taken untold millions that they never toiled to earn, but without our brain and muscle, not a single wheel would turn. We can break their haughty power, gain our freedom when we learn that the union makes us I got a new verse for you. They divide us by our color. They divide us by our tongue. They divide us men and women. They divide us old and young. But they'll tremble at our voices when they hear these verses sung. The union brought my family up and out of poverty. The union makes it possible for the workers in the Postal Service to have a higher standard of living heretofore unknown. The union brings us together, black, white, and brown, across borders, across languages and religion. Together, united we stand, and we stand together. Because the union is and that's why we sing solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. solidarity forever for the union makes us strong. Go in peace, go in love, go in solidarity forever. Yes.
All right, everybody. I give you the president of the American Postal Workers Union, Mark Dimmenstein.
Well, good evening, APW family and supporters, friends, allies. What a night of solidarity. It's been awesome. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm inspired. I'm humble. I'm honored, privileged to be part of this night. Certainly privileged to be the elected president, privileged and honored to be sitting at the table as your lead negotiator. And listen, management doesn't have to listen to us because of any title I and the other negotiators have, or the suits and ties and dresses that we might put on and the good arguments we make. Management has to listen to us because we have power and leverage, starting with the members of our union, but building from there, this tremendous solidarity that we felt and are inspired by tonight. Building our solidarity, starting with each other on the workroom floor, no matter what craft we're in, no matter what our category is, whether we're non-career, whether we're career, whether we're part-time, flexible, PSE, or full-time regular. We have to be unified. Unified with our other sister postal unions. Unified with the labor movement as a whole. Unified with our community organizations, from civil rights to voting rights. And unified with the people of the country who love and support the small d democracy that the public postal service represents. And sisters and brothers, APW family, solidarity has to be our way forward on all our fights. And that's why I found tonight to be so awesome and so inspiring, because sometimes we lose sight and we get into our own bubbles, and it's been harder during a COVID pandemic to not be more isolated. And here we are with this wonderful kickoff. But solidarity is our way forward. It's our way forward for the miners' victory that we need in Alabama, and for organizing Amazon, the behemoth in our same industry that must and needs to be unionized. The solidarity we need to defend voting rights, the solidarity we need to win racial and social justice, the solidarity with the young people of this country and the world who are fighting for a planet that can sustain their lives coming up and the lives that follow. Solidarity with workers throughout the world, not just postal workers, but all workers, fighting the same battles we're fighting. The kind of solidarity we saw that led to the Staples fight victory. Solidarity is the way forward for workers, for postal workers, and I want to just extend a deep appreciation for everybody, all the guests that joined us tonight with their wonderful messages of solidarity. Solidarity is not a one-way street. It's a 2 and 3 and 4-way street. And I'm proud that the APW has a history of solidarity. So brothers and sisters, as we enter collective bargaining, it's important to realize that we're not alone. And if you didn't realize that before tonight, you know it tonight. The public postal service belongs to all the people of the country. We're negotiating for great union jobs, increased benefits and improvements, better health and safety, a work environment that's not hostile, where workers aren't harassed. But we're also fighting for the common good. We're also fighting for the people of this country to have the best public postal service, not just now, but a robust, vibrant public postal service for generations to come, with all sorts of new, creative ways of binding the people together, from financial services to electric charging stations at post offices throughout the country. So it's great to be here with all of you. This is truly a grand alliance to save our public postal service at work. And we've heard a lot of people tonight talking about how the APW can count on them and postal workers can count on them, and they're absolutely right. But I want everybody to know tonight that you can also count on the APW. Whenever there's a fight for justice, whenever there's a fight for workplace and social justice, we should and we will be there. So sisters and brothers, we're fired up, ready to go. Our union, our contract, our future. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're in this struggle together. You'll be hearing from us. And it was a great start, a great kickoff. We're inspired, fired up, and ready to go. Solidarity forever, sisters and brothers, APW family, workers family, rock and roll.
APWU.
Right. Kenny, 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4. Kenny. Thank you, everybody. Yeah.
Thank you, gracias.
I can see Danny over in the corner.